Everybody keeps talking about peace, but listen to what Iran is actually demanding. Because this doesn't sound like a country trying to end a war. This sounds like a country trying to reshape the outcome. And if you miss that, you miss everything.
We have an official response from the new supreme leader of Iran with three specific demands at 30-day increments. Demand number one is a complete and total withdrawal of American forces from Iraq, Kuwait, Syria, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia within 30 days. How likely is that? Demand number two, the U.S. must lift every sanction imposed on Iran since 1979, including all banking restrictions, oil export limitations, and all technological transfer information and products transfer bans within 60 days. The third demand is to pay reparations to Iran for economic warfare that cost Iran an estimated, in their estimation, $800 billion in lost revenue in the last 40 years. Now, what they expect is to be paid back $500 billion within 10 years. If these three actions are not met, Iran will take very, very specific retaliatory actions. The number one is they will completely close the Strait of Hormuz within that 30-day and on that 30-day deadline. Number two, they will activate defenses and military partnerships with Russia and China, including foreign military bases on Iranian soil. The third thing they promise to do is to exercise its right under international law to develop and deploy full spectrum nuclear deterrent capabilities. The key word is deploy. When they use the word like deploy in an official statement, it leads one to believe they already have some form of nuclear capability. Now, this is not from the production of their own nuclear capabilities, because as we know, Donald Trump completely erased and demolished them. No, this is from what has come from either Russia or China, who has said 100% they are backing them.
That's wild. And it's scary. We getting into this war, ain't we, y'all?
Iranian FM Abbas Araghchi in an interview says we will and not accept a ceasefire, says Iran will not agree to a ceasefire with the United States and Israel, but seeks a complete end to hostilities. Iran is seeking not a ceasefire, but a complete, comprehensive and lasting end to the war. This is the latest that we are getting on that front. We have for more on this Akash with us. Akash, thank you.
That's wild. That tells you exactly their entire posture. That's right there. They're not saying let's pause. They're saying they don't trust a pause. From their perspective, a ceasefire is just time for the U.S. and Israel to regroup and strike again. They don't trust y'all. So instead of a pause, they're demanding certainty. And here's the problem. Certainty in war doesn't exist. So what they're really doing is raising the bar so high that ending this conflict becomes extremely difficult.
Laying Iranian vessels, as President Trump in an interview today reiterated his stance that the war with Iran will end soon. Trump telling Axios there's, quote, practically nothing left to target. Trump also told Axios, quote, anytime I want it to end, it will end. The war is going great. It was just Monday when the president said the U.S. was leaving some important targets in Iran for possible later attacks. Yet today, the U.S. announced the strikes on multiple Iranian naval ships, including 16 mine-laying vessels, as sources say Iran began laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway between Iran and U.S. Gulf state allies. The strait, one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world, has effectively ground to a halt, experts say, with almost no oil or shipping cargo coming through. Multiple ships have been attacked in or near the strait, according to the UK's maritime agency. Thailand's Royal Navy says one is theirs. The situation leading some of the biggest shipping companies like Maersk to steer clear.
We're only going to act if we feel that the safety of our crew, the safety of our assets, the safety of our customers' cargo can be guaranteed.
Meanwhile, new images are emerging that appear to show U.S. Tomahawk missile fragments at the sites of a strike on an Iran school that, according to Iranian state media, left at least 168 children and 14 teachers killed.
Wow. So everybody is doubling down. So this is where it's getting real, right? This is where it's getting real. 3 demands: recognition, reparations, and guarantees. Recognition means legitimacy. Reparations means someone has to admit fault and pay. Guarantees mean trust, and none of those are small. That's not de-escalation. That's Iran saying we want to walk out of this stronger than we walked into it. That's a power move because they got the Strait of Hormuz right there. And now they want to double down, not just ending the war, ending the possibility of it happening again. But how do you enforce that? You don't. Not realistically, which means this ain't just a demand, it's leverage. It puts pressure on the United States to decide how far it's willing to go. Look, I looked at Israel on the map. Israel is so small. How did we end up here? They believe that they're winning. Iran believes it's winning and wants a steep price to end the war. Of course they do. Of course they do. Here's the thing. Oil prices are rising. Policies are shifting. Sanctions are being relaxed. That doesn't happen randomly. That happens when pressure builds. And Iran understands that. They don't need to win the war outright. They don't need to. They just need to make it painful enough for the United States, long enough for the United States, and expensive enough for the United States, for somebody on the other side to say, what's the deal? What kind of deal are we going to make? And now we're hearing about a possible deal. Returning frozen assets, what the U.S. might call a technical move, Iran calls reparations. The United States wants the Strait of Hormuz reopened, wants limits on nuclear development, wants long-term agreements. Iran wants compensation and guarantees. So now you got both sides asking for things that are difficult to give. And that tells you something important. This is not close to being resolved. That's why there's going to be boots on the ground soon enough. Watch this. Watch this.
To go that if Iran doesn't open up the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, the United States will, quote, hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest first.
That's wild. There ain't no deal. We ain't close to being resolved. They're going to be boots on the ground soon. So we got to step back and look at the full picture. Iran is not backing down. Iran believes it has leverage. Iran is setting conditions that reshape the outcome, not just the end of the fight. At the same time, pressure is building globally, economically, and politically. The real question is, who bends first? Because right now, both sides are still punching. So both sides think they're winning. Both sides are raising the stakes. And when that happens, wars don't end. They expand. They get more expensive. And they pull more people in. So now the real question is, who bends first? Or does nobody bend? And this just keeps escalating. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are we heading towards peace or something bigger?